Check, check, check. 1, 2, 3, check. What is up, guys? Check, check, check. What is up, guys? And welcome to the very special first episode of Size, Strength, and Bro Science. I'm your host, Big Freakin Neil, and I'm not so big right now, but I'm in the process of getting back there and refilling the shoes of that moniker. So for those of you that don't know, I just did my very first classic physique show. I had competed once previously, but barely. The reason I say that is I was very unprepared, especially in terms of posing. I prepped without a coach. I really didn't know what I was doing. And this time around, being so well prepared, I realized just how unprepared I was the first time around. So way back in, let's see, when was that? 2015, I want to say. I competed in bodybuilding, heavyweight bodybuilding, I believe. And I just didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what I was getting into. I had no business going into that show without a coach. And this time around, I did my due diligence, hired a posing coach, and really my goal from the beginning of prep was to step on stage, not just feeling prepared, but feeling over prepared. The last thing I wanted to do was step out there and have to think and stress in the moment about anything. I wanted everything to be second nature, including all my poses. And over the course of 12 weeks, I made that a reality. I can honestly say when I stepped out on stage, I was amazed at how confident and comfortable I felt with all my posing, with my solo routine, with all my mandatories. Like I said, it was second nature. It was something I didn't really have to think about in the moment, which was really my goal from the get-go. That's exactly what I wanted. The other thing I wanted going into this prep was to bring to the stage the best possible conditioning that I could as a human being, short of dying where I stood. I wanted to be absolutely peeled to the bone no matter what. My mindset going in was I might lose a little bit of muscle. That's always a possibility when getting down to extremely low levels of body fat. But that was what I wanted to prioritize from the start of prep, was get as lean as humanly possible, put everything else on the back burner, and just show up in incredible shape. And I can honestly say I'm really, really happy with the conditioning that I was able to achieve. And we did that. We accomplished that goal. That goal of showing up as lean as I humanly possibly could manifested itself into a reality. And I'm super happy about that. I'm really, really proud of that fact. And I'm still on cloud nine about it. And it's still sort of surreal, like looking at the pictures from the show and seeing how low my body fat really was, and hearing things from other people like you were the most no one else at the event was as conditioned as you, that kind of thing. Nothing fills me with more pride than that, because that, again, that was my goal from the get-go, was to just nail the conditioning. Guys, there was a period of time during my prep when I was doing 90 minutes of cardio per day. I would wake up, I would do 1 hour fasted. That's the first thing I would do every morning. And then I would get a couple meals in me, just go throughout my day, train my clients, do whatever else I had going on that day. I would train, I would do my workout for the day. And then if I had another window in the evening, preferably before my last meal or two, I would do my second 30-minute session of cardio then. So there's 3 different points throughout the day when I'm expending quite a few calories. There's my fasted cardio in the morning, there's my lift, there's my training session, and then in the evening, there's my second cardio session, my shorter 30-minute cardio session. If I were pressed for time, this was not my preference, but there were times if I were pressed for time, like if my evening were fully booked out with clients, I am generally busiest in the evenings. Then in that case, I would do my shorter second bout of cardio, my 30-minute cardio session, immediately post workout. So 60 minutes fasted in the morning, I would train. A handful of hours later, 4 or 5 hours later, 30 minutes of cardio right after training. One of those 2 things happened every single day. That went on for, it was like the middle 4 weeks of prep. So probably from 8 weeks out to 4 weeks out, or maybe even 7 weeks out to 3 weeks out. That's what I was doing every single day. And that's what it took. Honestly, that is what it took to get to the body fat levels that I got to. If I could go back and change anything, I would probably taper off cardio a little bit sooner, because it did get me to my weight class limit early. If you guys were following my body weight updates, I ended up well below what I needed to weigh by the time I was 3 weeks out, I think I was a good shot below. I had like a 4 or 5 pound cushion, which is good. I wanted to be ready early. That was another goal of mine going into prep. However, I felt really, really bad the last 3 or 4 weeks of prep. Now, how can I put this into words? I felt so bad that there were times when getting out of my truck just to walk the 10 feet into the gym to train my next client was something that I actively had to talk myself into doing. It was something that just lifting my legs out of my truck, walking that distance slowly, the energy deficit was just incredible, guys. I had no energy for anything. I would try to help my wife out around the house or outside in the yard, and I would get lightheaded. I would get dizzy. I literally had the energy for my cardio, for my training, barely. I was barely making it through my workouts alive, and I had no energy for anything else. I still maintained a fairly heavy client load throughout my prep. So I was still seeing clients in person, and it was tough, but I made it through those sessions. It took me to my absolute limit between cardio training and seeing clients. That took me to my absolute limit as far as what I had energy for. So, oh man, I get the heebie-jeebies even thinking about it, because it was rough, guys. I can honestly say that this prep was the hardest thing that I have ever done, period. Fitness or otherwise, I've never done something as hard as this prep. Mentally, physically. There was an email that I had fully written out, signed, was ready to send to Craig Productions, which, shout out to them. They're incredible. I'll get to that in a minute. I had an email fully written out, signed, ready to send to Craig Productions, asking if I could transfer my registration to a different show. That's how that's how close to my limit it pushed me. Honestly, I was not prepared for this. I was not prepared. It was actually my amazing wife that talked me out of sending that email, because I was close, guys. I was close. And I showed it to her. And I said, look, I know that I've really dropped the ball around the house. I know that I have not been there for you. And I know that I started this prep at a very inopportune time, and that we're new homeowners. We have a lot going on around the house. There's a lot that I would have liked to been able to help with more. And it was just a hard time. The timing on my part was not ideal, to say the least. And she said, if you send that email, all of this has been a waste of time. And in not such explicit terms, basically told me all of the BS that I put her through meant nothing if I just pushed to a later show. She's like, all that you've already sacrificed means nothing if you don't see it through to the end. And she was right. She was 100% right. When she told me that, I went, oh man, and deleted the email, refocused, almost cried on her shoulder. I'll be real, guys. I'll be honest. Almost broke down and cried on her shoulder. Came very close. And then I just got back to work. I put my big boy pants on, and hearing that from her, honestly, was exactly the thing that I needed to get me through to the end of the prep. Because there are moments on a prep, guys, that are very lonely, and it's really easy to retreat so far into your own head that it feels like you are alone on your team. And it's team you versus team the rest of the world. And it's easy to feel like no one understands you. No one supports you. You're on your own. Why does nobody get it? Why does nobody understand how bad this feels? It can put you in a very lonely place mentally. And that's where I was. to be perfectly honest. And when she told me that, when she gave me that speech and encouraged me to delete that email, I was no longer on my team by myself, because here's my amazing wife who has put up with me so far throughout this long, hard prep. And she's telling me, you need to see this through. You need to stop crying, stop whining, because if you call it quits, you've wasted all of our time, essentially. And it's what I needed to hear. So I refocused. I got back on prep. I saw it through to the end. And guys, I'm still on cloud 9 about it, to be honest with you. What else? So the last sort of monkey wrench that got thrown into the prep was, let's see, I believe I was 2 weeks out, or at least thereabouts. And the governor of Idaho made the announcement that he was rolling back a phase or half a phase, I think a full phase. So there were new restrictions, new COVID-19 restrictions that got put into place 2 weeks out from the show. Now, I heard earlier that day that he was making an announcement. I saw a headline that said that he had a press conference scheduled, and all day I was a mess. I was very anxious and very stressed, wondering, what is he going to say? Is the show going to be canceled? What's going to happen? And the second he made his announcement, I did a quick Google search, found a couple articles that laid out what he said. Basically, I was between clients, actually. I just trained somebody. I had an appointment that started at the start time of his press conference. So by the time I was done training them, he was done talking. And I went out and I found articles. And basically, the county that the show was in was somewhat unaffected because they hadn't moved on to phase 4 like the rest of Idaho had. But the phase 3 that the whole state rolled back to was modified. So there were new restrictions in place. So it was all very confusing. I wasn't sure what it meant. I texted my coach right away. I said, what do you think this means? He said, I don't know. And within an hour, guys, not even 45 minutes, Craig Production had an email in my inbox that said the show is not canceled. It's going to be a little different. We're still figuring out all the details. Everybody's scrambling right now, but stay on your prep. Don't go to Pizza Hut. And the show is still on. No matter what, we're going to get you guys on stage. And that was awesome. Huge shout out again to Craig Productions. Throughout the entire prep, they were amazing with quick updates like that one, and also just dropping emails weekly, just about all through prep from like 8 weeks out on, maybe even further out. I'm not sure. Just words of encouragement, just like motivational little memes and little notes of encouragement for us athletes. Keep going. You know, you're 6 weeks out, you're 4 weeks out, you're 1 week out. Let's do this. And getting those emails was awesome. It was really, really cool, and really actually did a lot to help keep me motivated. I would wake up way too early to do my fasted cardio. I'd roll over, and the first thing I'd see was a notification saying I had an email from Craig Productions. And that was really cool. That was a really good motivator for me personally, in seeing out this prep. So Anyway, the COVID restrictions ended up meaning that the show was done in sessions. So there were a couple of divisions that would be grouped together in a session, and they were 3-hour blocks. So, for example, my session was from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. and all the bodybuilding was happening, and then all the classic physique was happening within that 3-hour window. So in other words, your prejudging, which is normally done in the morning, and your finals, which are normally done in the evening, were all within that window. And it was literally, you're on stage for prejudging, and you're pulled off stage. You're called back on one at a time to go through your solo routine. Then you're called back off stage again. Then top 5 or top 6 is called out on stage and awards are given. That's how it was structured. I think they did a great job, though. I didn't feel like it was rushed to the point of being disrespectful to the athletes in any way. I think we all had a really solid amount of time on stage. We all had multiple opportunities to showcase our hard work. And I think the venue and Craig Productions, again, just did a great job given the circumstances. I have no complaints whatsoever. I think the judges did a great job. Normally they have all of prejudging and then all of the rest of the day to make their decisions, because most of the decisions are made in the morning. And then they had finals to see everybody again. So normally they have all this time to sort of think about it before the winner is chosen. And it literally had to happen like that this time around. So hats off to them. I think they did a great job. They made the right call. From what I saw, everything was judged fairly. So really happy with how the show was run in general. I think it was run really well. And anyone who has ever done a Craig Productions show knows that they're awesome. The tanning company they work with is awesome. Everything about the show was just run incredibly well. So 0 complaints on my part there. Now, the results of the show were, I took first place in my novice division. When I signed up for the show, I almost just signed up for this division, guys, because I'm new to this. Again, that first show I did, I don't even count as a first show because I was so unprepared for what I was doing. So really in my mind, this is my first real prep. And I almost just signed up for the novice and called it good, but I decided to enter the open division as well. So the novice division was up first on stage. I was classic physique division B, which is up to and including 5'10". I'm 5'10", right on the nose. We're going to try to push that a little bit for my next outing. More on that later. But yeah, I competed in division B, won the class, placed first, which I'm over the moon about. I said from the beginning of this prep that I'm in this to win. I'm not going through this to place anywhere else but first. I'm competing to win. That's been my mindset from the beginning. I'm competing to win, and I did, and I'm over the moon about it. Nothing but respect for the other athletes in the division. Everybody looked great. This ended up being a huge show, guys. I think because so many other shows were canceled, and this was also the last opportunity to compete in the Northwest area before the end of the year. So this was everybody's last shot to compete in 2020. And all these other shows had been canceled. So a whole bunch of athletes, I think, had this as sort of like their backup show, their last shot at competing this year. So it ended up being a huge, huge show. There were a ton of athletes there competing. And the novice class that I won, I believe was 9 other guys or somewhere in there. Apologies if I'm misspeaking there, but somewhere in that range, 8 or 9 other guys. And then the open class came immediately after. So basically, I went up there for the novice class. We went through side-by-sides, the quote-unquote pre-judging. They call us out for our solo routines. I did my solo routine at this point, and it got an awesome response. I'm really happy with the response that I got. Really positive crowd response for my solo routine, which I should be getting pro video of that here in the next few weeks. So when I do, I will definitely be posting it. You can see a low quality cell phone version in the 9th and final episode of Big Freakin 2.0 on my YouTube channel. I'll put a link in the description below. But the professional quality version will be coming out soon. So stay tuned for that. So I did my solo routine. Then they called out the top 5 and I got my first place medal. I'm cheesing from ear to ear. And then they tell everybody, if you're in the open class, stay put, stay backstage. You're up next. So basically it was it was side-by-side solo routines, results, off stage, less than 5 minutes. I want to say my perception could be a little bit distorted because I was just in a daze and the whole event is kind of a blur, but I want to say less than 5 minutes. They call us back on stage for Division B open class. And it was the biggest class of the whole session, including all the bodybuilding. I don't know about men's physique and bikini. I'm not sure. They might have been bigger, but it was a huge division, huge class. I want to say there were 15 other guys. Again, I could be off by 1 or 2, but it was stacked. So went out there, hit our mandatories. They did not have me hit my solo routine a second time. They called me out for a couple of, they called it complimentary posing, I think, where I could hit 2 or 3 poses real quick. They gave me like literally 10 seconds. In fact, I was still in the middle of my second pose when they called the next guy out. So I had held it for a little bit too long. I would have liked to had given them a couple more, at least 1 or 2 other poses before I got called off stage, but ran out of time. So they called the next guy up, and everybody went through their solo routines that hadn't yet. And then they called us back on stage. They called up the top 6, I believe, which I was pretty stoked to be in. Then they started calling runner-ups. Our 6th place finisher, our 5th place finisher, and in 4th place. And then I heard my name. In 3rd place, Neil Austin. And then they announced top 2. Now, mixed emotions here, guys. Mixed emotions. I'm not going to lie. 90% of them are positive emotions. I am humbled and thrilled to place top 3 in the biggest class of the session at what ended up being a huge show. After placing first in the novice, I'm thrilled about it. I'm absolutely thrilled about it. It is 1 spot from a national qualification. And in the moment, that was kind of a disappointment to me. I'm not going to lie. I felt a little bit bummed to miss that so closely, especially since I heard that top 3 was really, really close. We were all in there. We were all in contention for first, honestly. Any of us, what I was told is any 3 of us could have won. So that, you know, that's hard. But I can honestly say to you now that a little bit of time has passed and there's some distance between me and the show, me not qualifying for nationals this year, or it would have been 2021, is the best thing that could have happened to me. It's the best thing that could have happened for my personal life, but also for my career as a classic physique competitor. And here's why. On the personal life front, obviously, putting my family through another prep so soon would be brutal. I have an amazing support system. I really do. And I know that everyone would get behind me if it were something that I needed to do, but it would put a big strain on relationships that had already just been strained. And it could have been bad. It honestly could have been really bad for my personal life. Now, in terms of my career as a competitor, I know, based on the show, based on how I did, based on how I looked, based on what I was able to bring to the stage, I know that Nationals 2021, between now and then, is not enough time for me to make the improvements that I need to make to crush it at Nationals. And in my brain, I'm going to Nationals for my pro card. Okay. Let's get that straight. I'm not going to Nationals just for the experience, even though I'm sure it'll be an amazing experience. I'm going there for a very specific reason, and that is to go pro. And in 2021, I will not be ready to do that. That I am certain of. And if I'd gotten that qualification, honestly, it would have been really, really hard for me to pass it up, because just what I know about myself, what I know to be true about Big Freakin Neil, is I would have felt like, you know what, I'm just going to push it extra hard. Maybe I can do it. But again, being a little bit more removed, now that time has passed, having a little bit more time to reflect, I know that that's not accurate. That is not the case. I would not have been ready. Absolutely not. So, yeah, where was I going with that? So, in other words, it would have been very hard to pass up and potentially would have made me rush to get ready for it and get back on stage. I would not have placed where I would want to place. And 2 preps back to back like that would have been very physically taxing. And honestly, it might have been a bad enough experience to turn me off of competing for another good while. I believe it probably would have. So instead, my plan going forward is to take a full year and a half to make real improvements. And in the, I guess, spring of 2022, I will be getting back on stage to qualify for nationals. I will be going to nationals in 2023 and getting my pro card at nationals 2023. That's my 2-year plan that I've laid out for myself. And it's going to allow me to actually make the improvements I need to between now and then to crush the qualification and do some real damage at nationals. So I'm excited, guys. You guys are officially caught up to where I'm at now. It has been what? 1 week, and I'm recording this on Tuesday, the 17th. It's been 1 week and 4 days since the big day. I have transitioned over to a off-season program. I've absolutely been killing it in the gym because I've not really been taking it easy at all, just because I feel so good. Nutritionally, basically I'm reverse dieting. So gradually adding back in calories, not going right back to obviously my prep diet, but sort of using my peak week calories as my base, and then gradually adding calories to that and just seeing what my body weight does and where I stabilize. And yeah, not trying to rebound super, super ultra hard in the wrong direction. I want to stay in decent conditioning and add quality muscle tissue and start that process right. So right now we're still kind of in that transition phase. I'm working my calories back up to what should be my maintenance. So I'm not even quite eating what technically should be my maintenance yet, but I'm close to it now. And over the next couple of weeks, I'll continue to taper up calories. I'm assuming in 2 more weeks' time, I'll be back up to maintenance, and I'll be able to put myself in that slight surplus and start putting on some real muscle. And I am thrilled for that. But because food has been higher, workouts have been amazing. Getting a pump again has been amazing. And I'm over the moon, guys. I'm on cloud 9. So anyway, thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in. This has been the first episode ever of Size, Strength, and Bro Science. This podcast is going to be a in-depth look at the anecdotal side of bodybuilding, because so much of it is anecdotal. So much of it is what they call bro science, where the science is just hazy. Things like what can't you eat, or what should you eat to make your skin thinner, that kind of stuff, where there's no real scientific studies to reference on that, but there's all this anecdotal evidence from competitors and what's been done over decades. But how much of that is just competitors being stuck in their ways and adhering to something that at the end of the day makes no conceivable sense? So that is the sort of the structure of the show. Each week I will be, most weeks I'll be talking to a guest and asking them questions about competing and trying to get to the bottom of some of these questions, some of these issues on what's bro science versus science and how much overlap is there really. At what point is anecdotal evidence worth more than what the science says, or is it? These are the questions that I'm trying to answer, guys, and these are the questions that we will be answering going forward. I'm excited to have guests on here moving forward. I'm really excited for that. So this first episode has just been a prep recap and a show recap. If you have any questions on it, please leave me a comment or send me a direct message, and I'll be happy to answer those questions for you. Otherwise, tune in next week. I will have my first guest with me on the podcast, and hopefully everybody learns something. I know that I probably will, most likely. All right, guys. Again, thanks for tuning in. Comment, share, like, do all the things. Leave me a positive review if you enjoyed watching or listening. And you can check out the video version if you are just listening to the audio somewhere. Check out the video version on my YouTube channel. Search up Big Freakin Neil and you will find it. I'll post the link in the description below as well. Catch you next time, guys. Thanks.